Hey guys, it's Mr. Shumpert. Today we're going to be talking about European exploration of North America. Our objectives for today are to know the reasons why European countries explored the New World. We also need to know which countries explored and what their purpose was in exploring and colonizing this New World. So why explore? Well, kings and queens and some explorers wanted to gain several things. They wanted to gain power, because the more power you had, the more dominant you were in your region. They also wanted to find riches, because money supplies new explorers, it supplies trade, it gives you a lot of options with what you can do. And they wanted to find land, because at this time, if you had a lot of territory, you were considered some of the most powerful countries. Now, in doing this, the explorers wanted to become famous. They were kind of selfish. They wanted to become the celebrities. They wanted to be the ones everyone talked about. Their stories they wanted to live on forever of what they had found in their explorations. This created a sense of national pride and created curiosity with a lot of new explorers. But one of the main reasons why European countries explored was to find a faster trade route to Asia. Now, how did they know of all of these riches? Well, a guy named Marco Polo explored Asia, and he took a land route from Europe through all the deserts and mountains to get to Asia. He found spices, silk, different types of art, and gold. And as soon as he came back to Europe and told his stories, the kings and queens of Europe wanted to claim these riches for themselves. So what was going to happen was the kings and queens of Europe wanted to find the fastest way to get the riches in Asia. They tried going over land, and that took way too long with all the mountains and deserts they had to cross. They also tried to go around the tip of Africa. But the problem with that was their boats couldn't sustain the weather and the waves, and a lot of times the navigators got lost. So what had to happen was they had to find newer technologies. They were building bigger, stronger, and faster boats. They had better instruments for navigation like compasses. And they had a better understanding of the ocean and the world. And there were also places to get training in this. There was a Prince Henry School of Navigation that actually trained sailors on how to navigate. So in their quest to find these riches from Asia, all of these countries wanted to find the fastest way to get there. And Spain had this crazy idea to go west. What they had done before was travel on land or by sea, and those both took a very long time. And Spain had this idea that maybe we can travel west and find Asia. They had no idea that North and South America were there, though. And so Columbus was funded by Spain to find the western route to Asia. He didn't know, though, that he would find the New World. And America at this time, until they become a country, will call North America and South America the New World. Europe will become the Old World. When these other European countries found out that Columbus had discovered a new world, they began scrambling to send their explorers to claim land and the riches there for them. We'll refer to the four major countries who explored and colonized the New World as the big playas. They are Spain, England, France, and the Netherlands. We'll call the Netherlands Holland, or the people there are called the Dutch. Let's talk about the Spanish. They had several reasons for exploring the New World, but the major reason was for them to set up missions to convert Native Americans to Christianity. They also wanted to find gold and riches. They set up plantations to grow different crops like sugar cane and tobacco. Now, the territory they explored was in all of Mexico, the southwest United States, and even to Florida. Now, what they were looking for there was the 7 cities of gold. And in Florida, they thought they could find the Fountain of Youth. I have a question. Why did English colonists not fight Spanish colonists or try to take their land? Well, the answer is quite simple. The Spanish colonized the western United States. The English colonized the eastern United States. Their territories never were in conflict with each other. Let's talk about the French. Their main reason for exploration was to trade with Native Americans to acquire furs, which could be sold in Europe for a lot of money. Many priests also came over to try to convert Native Americans to Christianity as well. The territory they explored was in the north. They explored Canada, the Great Lakes, and even the Mississippi River on down to Louisiana. The French, however, did not care to set up colonies. They did not want to have a permanent settlement here. What about this? How could this affect the French control in America? Well, if the French were not trying to set up permanent colonies, anyone who did have a permanent colony would have an advantage over the French and would be able to kick them out of their territory. What about the Dutch? Their main reason for exploration was for economic purposes. They wanted to gain money for themselves in their home country. And they wanted to do this fast. They were looking for the quick dollar. They were looking for natural resources and raw materials. They were looking to trade with Native Americans. But one major reason the Dutch came was to find a northwest passage to Asia. They thought if they could be the first to find the northwest passage, they could charge a tax to everyone who wanted to use that passage. The territory they explored was New York, or as they called it then, New Amsterdam. The Dutch had a great government in the Netherlands, and they didn't really want to leave their home to live in the New World permanently. This is a similar question. Why were the English able to defeat the Dutch in New York so easily? Because they weren't permanent either. Remember, a permanent settlement is a great advantage in trying to take over territory. Now, the English had 4 reasons for exploration and colonization. The first is economic. They wanted to increase their trade and also create markets to export English goods to. And they viewed the New World as a source of raw materials. The political reasons were they were in a very fierce competition with Spain and France. They always wanted to one-up each other. They also had religious reasons. You see, the English king was restricting the way they could worship and how they could worship, and they didn't like that. So they were seeing the New World as a way to find religious freedom. And they also had social reasons. England at this time was a very popular place to live, and they were very overcrowded there. So they saw the New World as a place to find their own land, a place to spread out, and they saw it as an opportunity for a better life. Now, the English really stuck to the east coast of America, just right there, where they set up the 13 colonies. Now, why were the English so much more powerful in America than the French and Dutch? They were permanent. That was their goal, is to make this a permanent settlement. Now, the trade between the Old World and the New World really exploded. And the trade took place between explorers, colonists, and Native Americans. Now, what was traded? Well, both sides were introduced to a lot of new things. The New World was introduced to tobacco and horses, and unfortunately, disease. The Old World was introduced to potatoes and corn and the cocoa plant, which is used to make chocolate. Now, the interesting thing is disease was introduced to the New World. That's not saying that the New World didn't have their diseases, but the diseases from the Europeans were so new and so different than what they were used to, the immune systems of the native people couldn't handle those diseases. And I've heard numbers from 50 to 70%, even up to 90% of the Native Americans that were here were killed from the European disease. Let's remember our objectives. We needed to know the reasons why European countries explored the New World. We also have to know which countries explored and what their purpose was in exploring and colonizing the New World. If you don't know these, you need to go back and rewatch this video. Make sure you know this information. We'll see you around.